Beloved, as we move into this weekend, it's the end of August already. One of the readings in the lectionary is Psalm 84, and it's deeply metaphoric and it's very moving in many ways. But Psalm 84 is tied to the dedication of the temple in the days of Solomon. Verse 2 is really moving, and maybe because I'm in a season where I'm writing poetry again, it just touches something in me because there's a deep connection between the poetic and the prophetic. We all know this passage. I'm going to read it to you. The sparrow has found her a house, and the swallow a nest where she may lay her young. By the side of your altars, O Lord of hosts, my King and my God. Now, if I were sitting in applied semiotics and future studies, getting my first doctorate with Len Sweet, he would say, gang, do the semiotics. What are the signs here? So let's do the semiotics. The sparrow and the swallow, we know God's eye is on the sparrow. It's obviously on the swallow as well. But these birds are traditionally considered insignificant and fragile. And yet they find a secure dwelling place near the altars of God. So even the altars are a sign of something. And they indicate that even the least esteemed creatures have a place in the presence of the Lord. The house and the nest are signs of stability, protection, and nurture. And so the imagery, the picture of a house and a nest, when we envision that, invokes the idea of coming home, of resting, and this capacity to be in an environment that nurtures life and raises life up in newness. Altars, all through Scripture, signify that meeting place, that threshold space, that liminal space where the divine and the human interact. It's where we bring our prayers. It's where God brings His healing presence. It's where we present our offerings. It's where we worship. And the Lord of hosts, the God of angels, my King and my God. These titles affirm God's sovereignty. And He's both a king, but He's also personal. My God. He's majestic. He's the God of angel armies. All of which underpins the security that a swallow and a sparrow experience near Him. And so there's a contrast between insignificance, small birds, and grandeur, God's majesty. All of it stresses the accessibility of God and His presence to all of creation, including you and me, regardless of status. So what do we want to do in response to that? Well, in the same way that a sparrow and a swallow are humble creatures and they find their place near the altars of God, God's presence needs to be something we realize is accessible to us, even when we feel insignificant and less than worthy. And it reminds us that we want to approach God in humility, trusting that He welcomes us regardless of our status, regardless of our past. And the image of a nest where young are raised calls us to examine how we nurture our spiritual lives and the lives of those we're related to and those that are entrusted to us. And in the same way that a swallow cares for its young, we're called to care and to cultivate practices of care and growth for one another in our journey together in Jesus. And what that means in terms of seeking God's presence is that we're always by the side of His altars. They're everywhere. Our ultimate security and our home are found in Him. As Robert W. Jensen says, God is a place all by Himself. Let's continue to draw near to Him from the inside out. And let's create space within us and among us for God to allow a breaking in of His insight, of His grace, and His love. And let's nest together in the refuge that is the God who is above all, in all, over all, and and through all. Let's lean into the weekend with expectation. God is up to something